Hey guys, it's Olivia here from Olivia's Catastrophe, and today I'm here to give you a book review of Underneath It All by Patricia Vanasse. Now, if you watched my March wrap-up, then you know I read this one in the month of March. It was the last read that I did in the month of March, and I absolutely loved it. I pretty much said that if I could rate this book, I would rate it 6 stars instead of 5, and I'm going to tell you why this book was absolutely amazing. So, first of all, I would like to say thank you to the author for sending this book to me for review. So, this book follows London, who is a teenage boy, and his dream is to get into this very prestigious university, and when one of his short stories is published in the newspaper, he manages to get a scholarship to go to this very fancy school, which is almost like a straightaway ticket to the fancy university that he wants to go to. However, going to a boarding school and, being from the lower class amongst all these prestigious upper class people, it's not going to be easy. However, while he's there, he manages to fall into a friendship group which has its own secrets and dark sides, and he happens to fall for this girl called Aria. The only problem is that Aria has a boyfriend who just happens to be one of the members of London's new friend group. Wait, you guys, I know you're thinking, well, this isn't the book for me, but let me just get you started on why this book is so brilliant, even though that premise seems a bit generic. This book follows a bookworm. First of all, London, he's a guy and he really loves books and he really loves writing. As someone who loves to read and loves to write, that really spoke to my heart. And Aria as well is someone who also loves reading and writing, and she writes poetry. Again, something very close to my heart because I consider myself more a poet than a novelist, so I really enjoyed that side of things. But the characters in this book are just so realistic, they can literally leap off of the page. And I think one of the reasons why that is so is because they all have huge flaws. They're not flaws that overtake their whole selves, but none of them are perfect, and all of them are struggling with their own battle and their own dark side. There's not really a villain in this book, there's a lot of moral grey area. I can't really say that this person was a bad character and this person was a good character, because we get to know them all and we see that they all have different things that motivate them, different reasons why they do the things they do, and over time you gradually get into the backstory of all of the main characters. The friend group has got 5 of them. There's London, there's Dylan, who is dating Aria, who's also in the group, there's Lisa in the group, and there is also Nate, who is best friends with Dylan. They are pretty much called the Golden Clique, and nobody understands why London has been let into the Golden Clique so easily. As for the plot, you can tell there is this huge romance plot going on. London is in love with Aria, but Aria is one of his friends, and I don't really condone cheating in my books, so sometimes the relationship got a bit confusing and they don't really cheat, but I had thoughts. Even though I had these thoughts, it was still really easy to see where they were all coming from, because the author does such a good job of describing their reasoning for everything they do, so I couldn't really dislike the characters for their choices, even if I maybe didn't agree with all of them. And as well as that plot going on, there's also an underlying mystery. There's a lot of unanswered questions that are presented in this book, which all has to do with this Golden Clique, their friendships and their dark past, and we're not going to get answers straight away. In fact, one of the biggest questions that I wanted to know, you don't get the answer until right at the end of the book, but I actually did not manage to guess who was the one causing all these problems. I didn't understand who it was, and even though I had an inkling about who it might be, I couldn't understand why they would do it. So there is a mystery in here that was done really well, and I kept thinking, like, how is this going, and how is this happening all the time, which made me keep reading and race through the whole book. As well as that, there's the romance plot, but also we really dig deep into the characters. This is a very character-driven read. I'm not sure how much plot-driven readers will enjoy it, but Aria, who is the love interest, she has had a very difficult time because her mother committed suicide. She's coming to terms with that, and Aria has a lot of problems that she needs to deal with and confront and face herself. One of the best things I felt about this book was that I could not foresee how this book was going to have a happy ending. You know the romantic situation. I don't see how that's going to have a happy ending where he gets the girl and he gets the friends. And then some perilous things started to happen which had really high stakes for London and the people around him. And again, I thought there isn't going to be any possible way the author can make this all like they lived a happily ever after. And I'm kind of glad that she didn't make it into a happily ever after kind of ending. This book has a realistic ending, and I'll just leave it at that. But I think it's very good that she chose that option rather than making it something that's unrealistic, since the whole book is so realistic and hard-hitting. I do want to give a couple of trigger warnings here because this book deals with a lot of dark topics. So trigger warnings for themes of suicide, for drug use, and for self-hate. I also really appreciated this book as a coming-of-age novel. I'm not saying that London is naive when he enters into this boarding school, because he is not naive, but he's a little bit naive in the fact that he lets himself get caught up in everything, and I think halfway through the book, or at least towards the end, he gets a huge reality bomb drop, and you can just tell that he has grown up so much in this book from the beginning to the end. For the better, for the worse, I'm not entirely sure, but I just, you know that feeling when you get those characters are like your children and they've come a long way and you're just so proud of them? That's exactly how I felt by the end of this book. I also want to talk a little bit about the format of this book. So this book is a novel, as you can tell, with chapters, but seeing as Aria is a poet, we also get to see some of her poems, and they're in the form of written pages, like just a randomly written page in the book. And at first I was like, okay, this poetry is just mediocre poetry. I'm not going to say it's the best poetry ever, so I thought, it's kind of mediocre, I don't really care about it, and I wasn't really paying much attention to the poems when I read them. However, as the story progresses and I delved deeper into the mystery and all the plot things that were happening, I realised how much these poems were a good way to see into Aria's mind, because the whole book is actually told from London's perspective. And it's like the poems were a little bit of getting into Aria's mindset, and I actually really appreciated them, so I do think the poems are worthwhile reading. It kind of gave me The Sky is Everywhere by Jandy Nelson vibes, because that's kind of how the poetry is used in that book as well, although I would say that this book is a better book than that one. I've also really been enjoying books that feature friends groups. As you probably know if you've been watching this channel, I've been talking about it everywhere lately. The Raven Cycle has a very good, friend dynamic, and I think although this one is a different kind of friends dynamic, I really did enjoy seeing the friends dynamic, how they always have each other's backs, how they're always willing to cover for each other. Without a doubt, they'll just do the best that they can do for this group of, they're not misfits, but this group of really fractured and broken people who are all trying to heal in their own ways. I don't really think there's much more I can say about this book other than do read this one, and if you do read it, you'll be supporting an indie author, because this is a self-published book. I think it deserves a lot more love. I'll be leaving the Goodreads and the Book Depository, Amazon, all that jazz, links down below, so make sure you definitely check this one out. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please let me know in the comments section down below how you feel about poetry. Is poetry something you read? Is it something you don't read? Just let me know. Also, give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, hit the subscribe button if you want to see more, and do not forget to hit the notification bell down below if you want to be updated every time I have a new video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye!